that up, but it was last July. I very much appreciate that. Very much. It did take me some time to get here. I'd like to say thank you to Susan and to everybody. It really is a privilege to get a chance to talk with you about what's going on at Hickory Creek at Hicksville. I'm going to give you a little background where I came from and how I got started in this, and I promise it'll be brief, and it will be boring, but I'll try to be brief, as I said. I have been an administrator for about 16 years. I started my healthcare career, however, in 1976. I had been building trucks at Harvester, like my father and grandfather did, and that wasn't to my liking, so I went from building trucks to working in the emergency room at Parkview Hospital, which was quite of a transition for me, but it was something that I welcomed. While I was there, I got to drive an ambulance for the neonatal intensive care, do some other interesting things in healthcare. But one night I was there, and a young lady came in who had been tobogganing. And I don't know how many of you have ever been tobogganing, but if you've done that, you know that it's quite a jolt when they put the sled down, you take off. Well, when they did that, she didn't care for that, and she stuck both legs out to stop the sled. And in doing that, of course, she had bilateral compound fractures of both her tibia and her fibula. And so I saw the surgeon came down, and I said, I'd really like to watch you fix that. May I do that? And he said, by all means. A year later, I had graduated from the Lutheran College, which is now St. Francis, and became a surge tech, and worked in the operating room for about 13 years. It was a very interesting experience working with the heart surgeons when they were getting some things started there, and it was just really interesting. It was a tough environment to leave, but if you're not a doctor, you don't make a whole lot of money working in the OR, so as we all know. From there, I went into materials management. I went to nursing school, been accepted to PA school, but I went to school, got my degree from Concordia University, and went to work. My first management job was at the University of St. Francis, where I was very, very fortunate to meet Shannon, one of my co-workers there. From there, I thought, you know something, I'd always had a desire to serve the elderly. I had a lot of elderly friends, and it just seemed like it was a thing I could do, and it was also an extension of my faith. And that meant more to me than just about anything else. So that got me into the world of long-term care. I had no idea what I was going to make. I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do, but I knew I was going to be with the elderly citizens of Indiana at that time, and now I'm blessed to be in Ohio. So I've been an administrator for about 16 years. I've been in SNF, in the skilled nursing facility environment. I've also worked in assisted living, and I've also run complexes that had all of them. They're called CCRCs, continuing care, residential care facilities. But now I find myself in Hicksville, and I cannot believe how very blessed I am. This is my fourth, I guess actually technically my third, Rotary Club. I started in Bluffton, Indiana, which was a great group. They did not eat like this, I can guarantee you that. We had Subway sandwiches, and you got half, you were lucky, but I'm not complaining. I went on to Wabash, was up there for a while, went back down to Bluffton, and now I'm blessed to be here. So I can't tell you what it means. I think I made that clear the first time I was introduced here. So now I'm here, and I get a chance to work with Reva Kemmerer, who is the finest social worker in all of Ohio, and she did not pay me to say that. I mean that very sincerely. And I'll cite an example. We get referrals from all over the state, and sometimes out of state, but we had a referral this weekend from Toledo, and she was on the phone holding a little baby on one arm and keeping her husband happy on the other, and talking to the people in Toledo for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So that's the nature of her work, and that's the passion that she brings to work. As I said, I've been at Hickory Creek for about 7 months now, and we're trying to introduce the changes that I feel are necessary. This is, like I said, about my 7th or 8th building. I'm an old man, I'm 64, so I have a pretty good idea of what I've learned from the generations that preceded me and from my family, and that's that you do the right thing. One of the most important things I can do is to serve the community, and that's why I joined Rotary. It was a perfect fit, it always is. So what I've been trying to do in the 7 months that I've been there is to implement some changes. One of those changes is going to actually involve some of you on a number of different levels. It is my understanding over the course of my time there that at one point there was a movement to put in a secure dementia unit, and I think you all know what that is. Memory care, dementia care, Alzheimer's care. To me, as a businessman, that seemed like a pretty good fit for not only the community but also for our building. It lends itself to an environment like that. I've got a diagram over there, and I'll be happy to show you what exactly we're going to do, but we're going to implement a secure dementia unit. We're going to do that throughout the course of the year. Some of the changes we've been making in preparation for that is we just put all new ceilings in part of it with some new LED lighting, which I think will enhance the environment. We'll be putting in some secure doors to make it a secure environment as well. We'll probably be refencing most of the property so the residents can get outside with their families and enjoy it. It's a beautiful property, and we want to make sure that they can get outside. The other thing that I'm particularly proud of is we just put a whole new suppression system and fire suppression system. I don't know if you know this, but our business, or even our business, is the most regulated business in the United States. There's only one thing more regulated, and that's anything dealing with nuclear power or nuclear medicine or anything that nuclear in nature. So we are the most regulated business, so we're going to adhere very strongly to that. But we just put a whole new suppression system in. That may not mean anything to you, but I can assure you, in the state of Indiana, up to a few years ago, maybe probably in Ohio and many other states, there were buildings that did not have suppression systems in them. And so CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, who writes all the rules that we live by with the state, demanded that. So we did that. We put a nitrogen system in, which is probably one of the state-of-the-art things we could do there. So I'm very, very proud of that. So we've done some preliminary things. We're going to be doing more. We're going to be repainting some of that. And I'm trying to work with Lynn Ritter. I don't know if any of you have met Lynn Ritter. She's from the Alzheimer's Association, I believe, in Toledo. She's coming down to speak with us. Matter of fact, I got a flyer because I would like to invite you to come and listen to the latest and greatest information about Alzheimer's or dementia. And there's many forms of dementia, some of you probably know, many forms, all very debilitating. So we're going to have Lynn come down and speak. So what I'm going to do with Reva and I, and what we're going to do is really try to adhere very closely to what the Alzheimer's Association, other dementia groups can tell us and say, these are some features that you need to have in your unit. Here's some things you need to think about. Two very important things for me as an administrator is that I have staff back there that want to be back there. It is not a good idea, and they will recommend highly that you never put nursing personnel on a unit like that that really don't want to be there. I don't know what your experience is with dementia, family members or friends or what have you, but it can be a very difficult circumstance. So it behooves us that operate those beautiful facilities to make sure that you have people back there that want to be there. And the next thing, and I think the most important thing we can do, is to have activity programming that's geared to them. I can't think of anything more important. As a matter of fact, I think it's so important. It will differentiate a unit from the better units. And so that's going to be a focus of mine. But it will be a secure dementia unit. It's going to be a happy place to be. We're going to work with the Alzheimer's Association and do some things that really help those with dementia to find their way through the latter stages of life. I've had a friend who had her mother in my first dementia unit. I've done this 2 or 3 times. And she wrote a story, and I remember it was published here in the United States somewhere. It was called The Long Goodbye. And I remember her reading that to me after she had published that. It meant a great deal to me. And so in keeping with what we want to do to make it a good, inviting unit, a place where people can trust we're going to take care of their families, that's a good environment for them throughout the course of their disease process up until the very end. So we're really excited about working closely with Lynn and her group. One of the things that they've done in the past, and I don't know if they're still doing it, I've been away from dementia care for a couple of years or so, is they used to have all different types of things that were tactile, that were colorful, there were things that made the brain work. And I don't know about you, but I can tell you that each one of us, the less we use our brains, the more trouble we're going to have. So we want to keep that, even with those with dementia, we want to keep them busy and happy and occupied. If you saw some of the people doing the things that they're doing, folding towels, folding socks, doing things like that, you think, oh my goodness, I hope that doesn't happen to me. Well, you don't have a choice. Sometimes things just happen with strokes or other things. So what we really want to do is focus on making people happy, making sure that they're cared for, they're not ignored. Again, it gets right back to the reason why I got into this business. So we're very happy to announce this. It's a work in progress right now. We do want to work closely with the state fire marshal, so forth and so on, to make sure we do everything right. There's just absolutely no substitute. And again, that's what I've learned from my predecessors and from the generations before. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to have some colors and lights and some things that will really spark that imagination, get that mind working, and do as much as we can to give them a quality of life. So we're rolling out slowly. Like I said, well, the ceiling will be done this week. The suppression system will be done, so we'll start painting, doing some other things, maybe some memory boxes. I just found out yesterday that my activity director is leaving, so I'll be looking for a new activity director, and it's probably a good time to find somebody who can really focus in on Alzheimer's or dementia care or memory support in that nature. So I have, Reva came with me. I'd like her to fill in any blanks if I left anything out.
The naming process.
The naming process, yes. This was I actually had a good idea once, and it came to me recently. What I told our corporate folks is I'd like to get the city of Hicksville involved. And so I had another guest speaker who's going to be here today, but luckily Reva was able to come. She could not be here. So what we are going to do is we're going to engage the public, and I'm talking about every one of you and anybody who lives in Hicksville. We would like you to participate in the naming of our unit. And that's going to roll out. There's going to be some stuff on Facebook. Each one of the Hickory Creek buildings, which by the way, there are 14. I'm the only one in Ohio. I'm sorry, we are the only one in Ohio. The rest of them are Indiana or over west someplace. What's my train of thought? But we're going to try to use Facebook. We're going to have Facebook pages. We have not embraced the social media like we can to promote us. We've had a number of customers that have come and been happy. We want to get that information out. But we also want you to participate in naming our unit. And I believe they've done this in other communities. And so what I would urge you to do is to go out to Hickory Creek Health Foundation, Inc., to their website, their Facebook page, and take a look, and you can see some information that was just put out there in terms of naming our unit in our building in Hicksville, Ohio. So I think it's a good idea. I think it's something that's going to work real well for us, and I'm hoping that you'll participate. We've got some more things to work on. What are we going to award that person when that name? Are we going to choose that name, so forth and so on? But we definitely want the community to be involved and be part of that. Of course, eventually what we'll do is we'll have open house so you can come and see it. Because we're not only working on that, we're looking to beautify this home. This is their home. We work in their home. And so I have an obligation to really feel the same way, to make it very, very special. So I hope you'll participate in the naming. It seems kind of weird, I suppose, for some people to name a dementia unit. Really, is that necessary? Well, yes, I think it is. And I think it should reflect the community they live in. This is a perfect opportunity for us to do that. So I hope you participate, and I'll have more information for you as time goes on. So, anything else? So I'm very blessed. I can't thank Susan enough for allowing me to talk about this. Our unit will be small. It is important to be small. If you talk to the Alzheimer's Association, you never want a dementia unit that's any more than 22, 24 people. Why is that? Well, you got to cut down on distractions. These people are easily distracted. They're easily made anxious. Their anxiety, so forth and so on. So our unit will be small. It will be 24. If you've been to the building and you walked into the nursing home, you walk straight down, you see the nursing station. It will be off to the left, or what we call the B hall. It'll be letter B. So it'll be, for now anyway, till you name it. It'll be very small, it'll be very home-like, and there's no substitute for any of that stuff. So, and now, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. Any questions? Yes, sir.
Assisted living. I understand there's quite a bit of ground where you're at. Will there ever be any assisted living, or is that not popular anymore?
Well, you were about the third or fourth person that said something about that, and yes, indeed, I've already broached that subject. I've run assisted living. As a matter of fact, I just came from a building, as I told you, that was a CCRC. It had the entire continuum, independent living, under roof and independent living. We also had a dimension for assisted living there, as a matter of fact. So if I have anything to say about it, yes, I would very much like to see that. And think about it. Think about why we would put a dementia unit in our business, in our building. Well, it stabilizes our senses, for one thing. People are living longer, both men and women. People are generating these illnesses, suffering these illnesses. And so we need a place to put these beautiful people so they're safe. It wears people out to take care of those with dementia. But yes, back to your question, I very much plan on doing that. I'd like to see them connected as well. And think about that, that's a nice feeder source. And I know it sounds kind of crude to say it that way, but that's kind of the way it works. And that's why you see these, you have independent, they transition to assisted living, and they transition over to skilled nursing facility if the Lord blesses you with one. So, great question, thank you. I'd love to see that happen. It really wouldn't be terribly costly. I know there's other people that are interested. I'd like to see that happen before I skedaddle, so thank you for that. Other questions? About the disease or anything else like that? Yes, sir.
Whole hall pretty much going to be dementia, or will it be, I'm guessing that many residents, it's going to take most of the hall.
Yeah, and I appreciate the question. Yes, that will occupy that wing. What we'll do is we'll secure that. You'd be surprised how many calls, I know Reva can attest to this, how many calls we get from families that say, Dad went out wandering and Mom didn't know it, or vice versa, or something else like that. So being secure, I refuse to use the word lockdown. That reminds me of law enforcement. I think it's an inappropriate term, and I'm kind of sensitive that you can tell. So it will be secure, and it will be that entire hallway, yes. It's a great way to stabilize our business. It keeps You're essential where it should be. Look, we're in business, we're not for profit, so be very clear about that. But we also want to make sure that people keep jobs. I have 75 people working there, and of course Reva's one of them, but we have 75 people. That's a pretty good size business to have to keep going, so forth and so on. So. Other questions? You've been very polite to listen to me ramble on. I very much appreciate that, and I hope to share more information with you as time goes on. I'm really excited about this for Hickory Creek, but I'm excited about it for the community and whatever we can do to support the community. My feeling is, and I've talked about this before, and we talked about this, my feeling is if you need health care, you're not going outside of this community unless it's absolutely necessary. So if you need skilled care for a rehab stay, we just had a guy come stay with us for 3 days and pay for it all himself out of his own pocket and had a great stay. So I know I speak, hopefully for the acute care, we want you to stay here and go nowhere else. So. I do have a diagram up there if you'd like to see a little bit more specifics, but thank you so much for listening to me rattle on and prattle on, and I wish you a blessed day. Thank you. Yes, sir.
You have one more question.
Yes, sir, please.
A while back, there was talk of trying to do a gazebo.
Yes.
Is that something you're still thinking of? I got to notice it's not one of your priorities.
Yeah, Turk, I think we're going to have to take a look at that. We have had a number of drain problems there. As a matter of fact, we spent a lot of money on plumbing recently. It is my understanding that we had a Shambo & Sons out of Fort Wayne, try to use local vendors whenever possible, came in and they said we've got an issue in terms of a drain that goes out the back, exactly where we would probably need to put the gazebo. There's also some pretty good sized trees back there which I would not want to touch. But I'm never going to give up on the gazebo idea. I'll do whatever I can, and Reva feels the same. Whatever we can do for our residents, by golly, I'll do it. I really don't care what it might be. So we're still trying to raise money for that. But right now, until I know a little bit more about what our infrastructure looks like, any problems we may have, it's still up for consideration. So yes, sir. Thank you for the question. So, anybody else? I hope you see us as part of the community. We want to be part of the community. We want you to feel comfortable coming to us and asking us questions. And thank you again for your time. Thank you very much.